The downside of free porn is the accessibility of it to people that probably aren't mature enough to process what they're seeing.
X videos, Pornhub, porn.com, X hamster, YouPorn. There's just a lot.
I distinctly remember being like 11 years old on Pornhub watching porn.
It's just, hey, are you 18? Check a box, and then there you go.
In porn, it's not people saying, do you want to do this? Are you okay with this?
It's like where you have to be super dominant and super aggressive. It almost feels like an attack.
The way that they go up to a girl, you can definitely tell that they've seen something that is inaccurate and most of the time inappropriate.
More and more people are going to wake up about the truth about how damaging pornography can be.
We were just sitting playing video games or whatever, and he pulled up his laptop and he goes, dude, I found this thing and it's crazy. And he typed in, I think it was like naked boobs, and there it was.
So someone would usually be like, yo, come here. And we'd be like, what? And then it was just two people having sex.
Job, missionary, cowgirl, every and any single sex position that was possible was being done.
And you're like, why would you watch this?
Housewives from Another World. I can't believe I still know, I still know the name. Porn stars were Christina Nugent and Rebecca Love. I'm really into porn. They were possessed by aliens or some sort of thing. And then two women just started having what I just then found out was sex. I think I got like 24 hours of sleep for that whole summer.
Even though people are supposed to be 18 years old before they see sexually explicit material on the internet, we all know that that doesn't happen consistently. So I think far too few students in the US are getting what they need in terms of sex education.
I had a 5th grade sex ed, and it really didn't teach me much at all. I learned about, the fancy words for vagina and penis and vulva, all these words, right? But that's all it was. It was just words and vocabulary.
You're not learning the correct ways to pleasure a woman. You're not learning alternative ways to pleasure a man, like anything like that. And so porn sort of gives you an idea of what maybe women would like.
Inside, I knew that I liked girls, but it wasn't prevalent yet. But I was so afraid of, being ridiculed that I would not even watch porn that had a girl in it.
A lot of people are becoming more comfortable with their queer identities. So seeing two women having sex, could really help a person to realize their own orientation.
We know for sure that there are adolescents who use pornography in order to learn about sex. In mainstream online pornography, women are more likely to be shown in a subservient position. Men are more likely to be shown in a dominant position. And so, if you're seeing that, does that make you accustomed to that? Could that reinforce particular gender norms?
I thought that you had to have a 10-inch penis, be able to last 2 hours, all these things, There was a point in my life where I definitely felt that I was lesser because of what I'd been seeing in porn.
In pornography in general, the guy that gets everything that they want and the girls are inferior and they have to let it happen.
My freshman year, when I was in a relationship it was my first relationship ever, I really had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And so I kind of used porn as my best tool to figure out how to pleasure someone sexually. It set a standard that I felt like personally I needed to live up to. Feeling inadequate, feeling like I was never good enough, feeling like I could never live up to what the standard was or what I perceived the standard to be. In terms of just how aggressive and how physically intense it was, me getting on top of her and holding her down and doing all this stuff that I had seen and was just trying to implement and just trying to replicate as a man who had only experienced porn. That's what I perceived to be the only way that you could do it. It's like where you have to be super dominant and super aggressive, and you have to just completely impose your will over someone. It almost feels like an attack.
Statistically, in the survey research that I've done, there was a relationship between the kids who were more likely to have been in abusive dating relationships were also more likely to have seen pornography.
They've seen something in a video, and that's their knowledge, that's what they think it is, and the way that they go up to a girl, you can definitely tell that they've seen something that is inaccurate and most of the time inappropriate.
As a teenager, most of what I learned was through pornography, so it was just dominant, just bam, 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 on the girl's face and things like that. I definitely learned that from porn.
You might not like being choked and you might not like your hair being pulled, but because that's the norm and that's what teenage boys and teenage girls are consuming, it might pressure young kids into being like, oh, I like that too, and they may not.
I think that the spitting and the hitting and the choking, it's all supposed to be something that can be consensual and fun, but in porn it's not people saying, do you want to do this? Are you okay with this? It's all, I'm doing this now and I'm not going to ask you if you like it or not.
Because so much of the way sex is portrayed on the internet and in society is that I feel like a lot of kids end up saying, well, I guess this is what sex is now.
When we learn something, our brain physically changes. The frontal executive control area, this frontal part of our brain that is the braking system, if you will, of the brain, the wires that connect that with the reward center are affected in people that watch a lot of pornography. I think youth today, their sexuality has been hijacked. Their sexual scripts have been pre-written by pornography. I do think that the pornography industry needs to be held accountable for what has become a de facto seamless sex education instrument.
Do we have our time code 160746 something? Yep. All right, cool. Here we go. Rolling.
Scene one, take one. Mark.
It's been so long since a boy has made me get into trouble. Are you sure you know how to?
She did not.
Line.
Well, I'm good at being bad.
Well, I'm good at being bad.
Every porn scene kind of goes the same way.
Keep it taboo. You are step-sitting, so this is wrong.
There's some idiotic scenario where somebody's related to somebody by marriage or somebody's babysitting somebody. Who knows what the scenario is? So there's a little bit of foreplay and then they'll run through. It's like, okay, she's gonna go down on him, he's gonna go down on her, they're gonna do doggy, miss, spoon, cowgirl, maybe reverse cowgirl. Maybe reverse cowgirl will turn into a spoon because that's an easy transition to make. And then at some point they're gonna figure out where the guy's gonna, unload at the end, and then everybody gets a baby wipe and we move on to do it again. Or in my case, we move on to do it again for 28 years. So that's it.
I don't know if this was a good idea.
It was.
Not really. Okay, let's go.
Kids definitely watch porn because they are horny and they know what sex is, but they have never actually seen sex happen. They haven't had it. They don't know what it looks like. They don't know how you're supposed to feel or what you're doing. I don't necessarily agree that it's the best place, but like sometimes that's all there is.
It can distort a person's idea of sex in many different ways. A lot of the positions are not comfortable because you're doing them for the camera. We amplify our energy and make things look more extreme than it actually is.
I don't think it's a producer's responsibility to, create safe for work porn. It's just capitalism. You're just fulfilling a demand. If nobody wanted to see it, they wouldn't make it. If nobody wants to drive a Volkswagen, then Volkswagen won't make cars anymore. It's just the way it is.
It's a fantasy. We're making movies, not documentaries. Before the internet came along, you had to be careful because there were certain obscenity laws, and obscenity laws are different for like each state. If you sent an anal scene, an anal DVD, and it crossed state lines into a state that, you know, sodomy was illegal, then you could actually go to jail for obscenity. But when the internet came along and you were no longer actually distributing a tangible product and people all over the world could access it anonymously, that's when the sex acts started to get really, really extreme.
The internet really changed things completely for the adult industry. Today we kind of produce off of statistics that are developed off of keywords and search terms. So companies like Pornhub and Browsers and those companies, they're all able to really focus in on what the customers are looking for and then create that.
Amateur.
Bondage.
Anal.
POV.
Babysitter.
A lot of babysitter. I shoot a lot of babysitter porn.
Teen. Threesome.
Blonde.
Big ass, big d.
Finger and fist French.
BBW.
Brunette.
Gang.
Lesbian.
Brazilian.
Yeah.
Buk. Wow, that's a lot. That picture's gotta be all fake.
In Japan, I was a part of one. It was me and like 13 Japanese guys.
I never quite understood that one myself, but again, I'm a little bit prudish when it comes to this sort of thing. Oh, cream pie. It's not even about porn anymore, it's about marketing. You know, the porn is kind of secondary because since porn has been free, it's been increasingly difficult to get people to pay for it. So now you're just trying to come up with the most outlandish ideas to get anybody to click through to anything to possibly pay for something, you know?
And I think that kind of drives the aspect of trying to make videos that will go viral, things that look more extreme. That seems to be the avenue that a lot of people have gone.
Our brains like to learn something new, and so sexuality is no different. There's only so many ways the human body can have sex, and so becoming more extreme, becoming more coercive is really the narrative, I think, that's we're seeing today. And so this reward center of our brain that is designed to help us survive and to thrive suddenly becomes a taskmaster with addiction. And it forces us to get into the narrow rut of seeking the same overvalued reward at the exclusion of everything else in life.
I struggled with a porn addiction for about 3 years. I had times where I would do 4 or 5 sessions of looking at porn and masturbating, where that would be all I did during the entire day. Month after month, year after year, looking at it more and more and more, and just not being happy and just being depressed and anxious for a long time. Ever since I was younger, I've had extreme social anxiety with women, and I think one big reason was because I had started watching porn. Like, I couldn't connect with a woman in real life, so I escaped by looking at pornography, which kind of created some shame and guilt within me, which made me more insecure with a woman. This negative feedback loop of getting worse and worse in the cycle.
And I want to talk about porn and fapping. Now, fapping is an internet lingo term for masturbating. Out of anything in my life, the thing I've been most addicted to maybe would be like off. Just off all the time, sometimes like 6 times in a day.
I made a YouTube video announcing to my audience, hey guys, I've learned about this thing called NoFap, and this is something that I'm excited to try.
Now I'm gonna make a commitment to you guys that I'm not gonna fap or look at porn.
The general challenge that's given to people is to try to go 90 days without porn and masturbation and then see how you feel.
Pornography is definitely bad for you.
It took some time, but my overall confidence really improved.
So I've successfully completed my 90-day no-fap, no-porn challenge.
I'm single right now, but my ability to connect with women and feel more comfortable with women has improved dramatically. I've been on a lot more dates recently, and I feel a lot more just comfortable with the opposite sex once I stopped looking at porn and stopped masturbating. It really struck me as time passed how much I objectified women and just kind of got socially conditioned by porn and also just really sexualizing women rather than really connecting with them on a heart level. Most people don't have the openness to talk about it because it's kind of this underground issue that has lots of shame regarding it.
Industry as a whole has evolved. There are these like subgroups or alternative content producers who are trying to create new and different kinds of content. There's pornography that is better about showing women's pleasure and authentic pleasure, not just performed for the camera. So there really is a pretty big diversity of stuff that is out there. It's just that that's not the stuff that teenagers are most likely to stumble across, and some of it is the kind that you have to pay for, which makes it less likely that teenagers are going to find it.
When I make my own porn, I created this for the purpose of making money and sharing with the folks that I feel comfortable sharing it with. So I'm gonna record a masturbation scene. I definitely make an effort to include and to not edit out some things that are commonly edited out in porn, which is maybe requesting lube or specifying a different type of touch. You know, I started filming, my partner, he gave me a little slap on the butt because I asked him to give me a slap, and he did, and I said, can you do it softer? I want people who are watching us see what it looks like when partners negotiate for pleasure. And I think that's another problem is when you watch stuff on TV, when they leave that out, folks don't know. I'm trying to entertain people, you know, I want it to be visually appealing. I want people to come back and buy more, but I'm not trying to give bad information. Because I could show my kid almost anything on YouTube, whether it's someone popping zits or eating spiders. And when I give her the understanding that this isn't really typical human behavior, but it's for fun or shock value, she would understand that better. The reach of technology has improved the likelihood that people will seek out things, but what has decreased is folks' accessibility to inclusive and comprehensive sex education so that they can have literacy about what they're seeing.
So our porn literacy course is a part of Start Strong programming. So the role of Start Strong is to train high school students to become young experts in the field of dating violence prevention. Now we're using a framework of porn to start the conversation. In 1857, the word porn was actually created. It's a Greek word, and it combines two words, porne and graphene. And that is combining the word of prostitute and describe, so it's the idea of describing prostitutes. So we hear from our young people that as soon as it hits midnight, their timeline is now filled with sexually explicit images. I think it would be really challenging for our young people to try to avoid not seeing porn at this point. We're neither pro-porn nor anti-porn. We're looking at the latest research, we're sharing that with our teens, and then they get to decide how those messages relate to their values and their beliefs.
My hair. I have a pencil in my pocket. Pen.
That's like this one.
Wait, no, I got this one. She's an
No, you can have this one. You get that one.
Okay, team, so check out these photos. And for those that intentionally went to grab a photo, how come you grabbed that photo? You were very specific about which one you wanted. What makes it stand out?
Your eyes. Well, you might as well say the sky.
Usually when we talk about porn, oftentimes it has like a negative stigma or a negative connotation. At first, my mom was like, oh my goodness, you're taking a porn, well, like, what do you mean you're taking a porn literacy class? How is everyone watching porn, but everybody thinks porn is bad? Like, the equation's not adding up.
Just sounded interesting. Granted, I thought we were gonna be watching porn, and we weren't, so that was a little bit disappointing. Because of the way the porn literacy class is structured, it opens up the floor for your views and your opinions to be voiced and validated. We never take away from anyone's feelings or how they view things. We just sort of try to throw it out there that while you may view that, here's why, or there might be a social construct behind that. After taking the porn literacy class, I had started to go back to my friends and be like, yo, I just learned this, guess what? Like, you'll never believe what they do in porn.
This one, and we have this one. The way I feel is that it's just like these two entice a type of feeling, type of desire. Having this program and that going through all the courses that we have, I'm seeing the toxicity. I'm seeing the destruction. I'm seeing it in real time. And it's like when we go out into the real world, it's like it's sad to see that. It's like everything that we're speaking about here, it's like so real now.
I think there is importance with our young people applying a critical lens to any of the media, whether it's porn or whether it's a TV show, so that they learn that what's on the screen isn't the full truth.
I know we like to say, well, pornography is not for education. It's not meant for that. It's meant for entertainment, and we don't create it as educational. But guess what, people? The kids out there don't know that. How can this not be like a primary focus on everything that we shoot today when we know that it's really going to influence people?
So if people were really serious about wanting to stop sexual and dating violence, they wouldn't be looking only at pornography. There is a whole set of things that we should be looking at. Pornography may be one of those things, but it's one of probably 20 or 30 different factors that make a difference.
I think that it can be a healthy thing. I think that people can have a healthy relationship with it, but I think there needs to be a lot of education as to what's real and what's not in order for us to reach that.
We're seeing a lot more diversity in the porn these days. We're seeing more women being dominant. There's more trans awareness and acceptance happening in the media right now.
Porn is a tool, so it's just really tailored to how you use it and what you take from it.
If it was my daughter, I would just say, you're gonna see stuff that in some cases may be fun, it may be violent, it may be scary, it may be playful, but ultimately when you decide that you're going to have sex, you need to find out what's comfortable for you. I don't think that's the first thing you should see though, when you're like 10. It's like, oh, there's a guy hanging from the ceiling being flogged in the testicles by an angry woman. I don't know that that's your first thing you should see, but you know, if at some point in life you figure out that that's what you're into, then that's what you're into.
If you ask me a porn star, I would name a ton. I just can't really think of the.
Yeah, go.
Go what?
Just list it as.
Start with my favorite. Keisha Gray, Abella Danger, Ava Adams, Rebecca Love, Kylie Nash, Lady Fire, Lauren Phillips, Chrissy Lynn, Brandy Love. Brandy Love's one of the first porn stars I started watching. She by name. Christina Nugent, Piper Perry, Kimmy Granger, Sarah J, Mia Khalifa.